Welcome back into SportsSource.tv. This is our overtime segment. I'm joined, as I will every week during football season, by a wave of Vols for life. We have sitting down there a couple of defenders in Will Overstreet and Shazan Bradley. We got a couple of ex-quarterbacks here in Sterling Hinton and Bobby Scott. And right on the front of the desk, we got Blue Smoke Cigar. And what that is, if you're somebody that enjoys a cigar, Will, you enjoy a cigar every now and then. If somebody likes a cigar, the best place to go in town, it's the Premier Cigar Lounge. They've got everything you could possibly want down there. Golf simulators, card tables, tons of HD television, leather seating. I was down there a few weeks ago, and one group was watching Goodfellas, one group was watching an NFL game, one group was watching CNN, another group was watching Fox. It ran the gamut. Whatever you want to do, they got it. Get out there and check it out for yourself. Blue Smoke Cigar. It's the same folks I've been telling you about for years who are behind Smoking Joe's, and they still have their original, or have their store that's in Alcoa. It's still down there, so you want to check that out too. But Blue Smoke Cigar out in West Knoxville, right between Rafferty's and South Peters Road. Can't miss the sign. Check it out. All right, we took some questions from the viewers at home. Thanks for tweeting these in. I'll paraphrase some of these, shorten some of them, tweak a couple of them to make them fit a little bit better. Is Daniel Bituli the next great Tennessee linebacker?
Got the name for it.
It is a unique name.
Yeah, it is.
He had a big day against Georgia Tech, no question. Forced a fumble, 20-something tackles. Part of that, of course, is a product of Georgia Tech running the ball 900 times. But maybe a little early to be calling him the next great linebacker. I'm trying to be nice here.
Yeah.
Agreed? Everybody's looking at me like no one wants to say no.
Yeah, it's early. I mean, there's nothing to say he can't become that, but I mean, there's nothing to say. I mean, there's no watch one game and say he had 23 tackles against a team that ran 90-something plays, and you go, wow, he's as good as Al Wilson. I mean, we got to hold off a little bit. Let's don't jump to conclusions quite just yet. Let's let him play a few more games. And he deserves to be able to make what he is in his own name, and not us start comparing him, trying to slot him into somebody else's.
Right, because I think he looks a lot more like Raynoch Thompson. I'm just kidding.
and also, in front of every great linebacker is a great defensive line. So I don't think he has that at the moment.
I think so far we've not seen anything to make us think he does. That's correct. All right. Somebody asked, could Tennessee playing so far off the line on defense be an attempt to avoid injury? And it was interesting during the show, Ryan Callahan, who was here, he thinks that might have been part of it in the Georgia Tech game. When you're playing so far off the ball, they cut block. You've got a lot of guys who've had leg injuries. He thought that part of it is the scheme, part of it was let's protect our guys. I don't know that you'd do that against Indiana State, though. Your thoughts? Any reason that they could be trying to avoid injury, and that's why they're lining up off the ball?
Well, first thing you should do is take your defensive lineman out and actually show them exactly what they are supposed to do when they're a cut block. And I'm not seeing that. You get one hand on his helmet, one hand on the shoulder pad, you stop him, and you step away, and you keep coming. And we're not seeing that. These guys are just take a whack at him. I mean, sooner or later, something's going to give.
Like I said, I just did it on the show. I have no idea what this defense is. I don't know why you would do it. I'm baffled. I'm simply baffled. I don't know what this is. I have no idea why this has, and it gives your team an advantage or helps your team.
All right, guys.
I think you're catching when you play that far off the ball. You're giving the offensive lineman the advantage of getting into your body, and if he's into your body, he's going to move you more.
So now they have the advantage of the snap count of where the ball's going, plus they have the advantage of momentum coming at you a yard away. Do you think that makes for a good defense overall playing?
No.
Well, it could help with some exotic twists and stunts
that we haven't seen yet. Could be very exotic.
Could be bubbling up.
Australian rules. Australian rules.
How about a pirouette?
Well, all right.
never know.
Let's turn this question around then. I don't know. I've never seen anybody do this. Maybe that's my own limitation. But again, I would invite any of you to do a Google search just for fun, and search line of scrimmage. the only place you'll see where there's a yard between the offense and defense, we'll set it during the show, it's the Canadian Football League, because that's the rule. It's a yard off the ball. And they do that because they want their game to be this wild offensive show. They know that that gives an advantage to the offense.
Mm-hmm.
So.
It gives a lot more time to the quarterback sitting in the pocket. You're not going to get as many sacks. Yeah, it helps the offense in every possible way.
And as the person that played up there, it also gives a defensive lineman an extra oomph into that hit when your lineman missed the block.
Well, let me ask you this one. Let's say that Tennessee really was looking at that and saying this will help us avoid injuries. Look, last year, I think you can be careful. I don't have a problem with playing starters on special teams, for example. I do if you only have one good linebacker and he's got a bum shoulder. I wouldn't have him doing it. If you're up 28-0 or 35-7 late in the game, I wouldn't have my number one running back or my only proven receiver returning punts. So there are things to do. But this seems a step too far in terms of, let me get Sterling first. This seems a bridge too far. I can't imagine a coaching staff saying, I am so scared of injury, let's line up a yard off the ball. I don't picture that.
Well, I really don't think that's the deal.
Right.
What's going on? I think it's a scheme that they're getting accustomed to. It seems exotic, seems different, but you never know when it's time to bring out all the stops, and this week would be the one to do it. So they've got some reps at it. Let's see what makes happen against Florida.
Will, what were you going to say? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, well, if they're so concerned about injury, then why were guys that played like 95 plays in the last game still playing in the fourth quarter against Indiana State while you're up by X amount of points? I mean, that to me doesn't make any sense at all either.
Especially when you said you want to play, you want to get a bigger rotation going, and the one place where they kept putting the same guys out there, especially, was the defensive line.
If you're playing to not get hurt, the chances of you getting hurt are much greater than if you're playing full out.
All right.
Well, I think it's a smokescreen. I think it's a smoke. I think
Rope-a-dope.
I think the rope-a-dope. I think something's going to happen special this week. I'm just saying.
We
ready.
give up 600 yards until we play something good.
We won. We won the game.
I played the game for many years, and knock on wood, I've never been injured. But also, I've had some of the greatest coaches that ever coached the game also.
And that kept you from getting injured?
No doubt.
Really?
No doubt. No doubt.
But it wasn't by lining up a yard off the line of scrimmage.
No, that would have got my neck broke. That would have got my neck broke. I promise you.
But that's when we played in the 1900s. Remember, we played in the 1900s also.
I mean, can you imagine Bo Jackson taking a step and a half and exploding into you, what they would feel like? That's a car crash.
Trading an extra yard and a half to.
All right. John Currie, somebody asked you about this. John Currie was up in the stands. He was over on Camp Hour. He was doing the tailgate routine. He was in the stands yesterday. Somebody said, have you ever seen any UTAD do this? They might have. I can't remember it, but I will say this, and I'll get your guys' take on it. There was a lot of uproar, especially from VFLs, when John Currie was hired. All right, because a lot of you guys love Philip Fulmer. Philip Fulmer wanted the job. He went to someone else. There was some backlash because Currie was not the most popular guy when he was here. He came on, did our show, was not the man I expected to be here. He looked like a guy who'd grown up. He's won me over. Now, we'll see how things go. If the season goes bad, then he's going to be in a whole other level of pressure. But so far, AD going up into the stands, shaking hands, going around the tailgate, I've liked everything I've seen out of him so far. Your thoughts on John Currie so far?
He's been talking to Philip Fulmer. He's finally learned how to be a real volunteer.
You can tell the former Vols are going to say, well, it's Fulmer making him do it. All right.
I think everybody has a chance to change. Everybody has a chance to change. He was an ambitious young guy here earlier with Mike, and he's gone and had some success. Now he's a seasoned veteran athletic director back at home. That's a different guy that we have now than what we had previously. So I love what I've seen out of him so far.
There's nothing that says that an athletic director can't go up tailgate and have a beer or whatever, before the game. I mean, I don't have a problem.
No, it's somebody saying they like it. That's what they're saying. Doug Dickey wasn't the kind who was going to do that.
No, he wasn't.
I mean, Doug Dickey was more of a cold fish, but he was a hell of an athletic director. And bottom line is, John Currie can shake all the hands and kiss all the babies he wants. If people want Butch Jones gone come November and he decides to keep him, or vice versa, you can forget all the kissed babies and all the shaking hands, and it's going to be, what's he doing? That's the nature of the job he has.
It's always lonely at the top. It's always lonely at the top.
ADs aren't popular. They never are.
I don't care how much money he raises, how many babies he kisses. Does the program get better under him, and do we start winning again or not? If we don't, he can go. I mean, or he can stay if he's doing a good job of that. But beyond that, everybody starts using these measurements that don't really matter as an athletic director. He raises a bunch of money. A lot of people raise a bunch of money when they have UT behind them as their name and be able to do that. Win. That's all you need to do.
I just think we got to get the people who built this program at the University of Tennessee back inside our program, the people from Tennessee that loves Tennessee. And until we get that, we're never going to connect with one another again. We have to connect. This is a community thing.
But I think that I don't want to get way off topic here. But see, there's two sides to that coin. Until we get guys who are from here back here, we're never going to come together. Well, that's on you, not them. I mean, if you're saying, I'm not going to gather around you because you're not from here, that's on you. That's not on them. To me, I'm like Will. If he does his job, great. That's all that's going to matter. If he doesn't, I don't care if he's from the University of Alaska or University of Tennessee. We've had UT guys over there before, and nobody liked them either. I mean, that's so to me. But he's going to be judged on his job. But this is a good thing. You can't say it's not a good thing to have him out shaking hands, kissing babies. That's a step in the right direction. I don't think it's going to matter in the end game, but if you're asking me, what did you think of it? I'm going to say it's a good thing.
Absolutely.
Which somebody did ask.
Always a good thing.
Okay. Someone asked, would the, let's see, Vols helped? Well, I was talking to you as I was writing, and I obviously just wrote down gibberish. Here it is. Will the Vols be helped by the fact that Florida didn't get to play this week? I would answer that as a yes. They look like crap against Michigan.
Absolutely.
You know they would have liked to play Northern Colorado and got some of that bad taste out of their mouths.
Absolutely. I say absolutely because you need that game rhythm. You need that continuity as a team. I mean, there's no speed like game speed. Talked about it on the show. And we are ahead of Florida in that perspective. Now we just need to take it to them and let them know we're ahead of them.
And as bad as their quarterbacks played the other day, to me, they needed some more time on the field.
Yeah, they need some more time reading and get some views of what's going on, because that definitely hurts them for sure. But does the suspensions all of a sudden end and come back for this game is another big question that we have to ask. That it could be a big deal. Is when does Florida suspensions decide to get ready for a certain game?
Yeah, and is that a I think if it's a university suspension, it's more likely it will stick. If it's a football decision, and that doesn't mean. I'm not saying it's likely it will stick. I'm saying it's more likely it will stick than it would if it's the coach's decision. I'm going to guess the coaches would say they're back. But thoughts on Florida not getting in there and getting into a rhythm, Bobby? You think that helps Tennessee?
I think it always helps if if you're in rhythm and you've got some continuity about you. As far as the team's concerned, I think it has to make you better.
All right, now, the possibility, we mentioned it in the show, you got hurricanes, we got 1, 2, and then there's one named Katia that's behind Jose, which is following up Irma. Let's say this game gets moved, and I haven't looked at Florida's schedule, I should have, to see how their schedule lines up with Tennessee's Southern Miss game. How their open dates line up, if they line up. Because you may dump a non-conference game to play if if both of them have a non-conference that week. If you are Tennessee, though, and this game gets delayed, would you feel better about playing Florida later in the season?
No.
That used to be the thing. You'd rather play them now.
Right now. We've got 2 games underneath our belt. We're 2-0, baby. And they haven't played that second game. And we have a game mix right now. I mean, our coach is even ready for the substitutions. That's something that coaches doesn't have the drill of going through just yet, other than one game. So I want to play them now. Give us the best chance to win playing this Saturday. No matter where it's at.
You got to think about last year also. At the end of the season, we were depleted in terms of players. So I mean, let's take our best shot right here.
Well, if we keep playing our players in the fourth quarter against Indiana State for the rest of the year, kind of like, then we're going to have a much worse rushing defense by the end of the year. So I would rather play them now.
Interesting. Play him now. Would you rather play him now?
I'd rather play them now as well.
Which is a change from the old days, when it was the Spurrier-Fulmer battle back and forth. Everyone wanted to play Florida later in the year. It's like, why don't we ever get them later? We're always better at the end of the year. Part of that was always the fact that you played Kentucky and Vanderbilt at the end of every year. Then South Carolina, that tended to make you look better. But the one year you did get them later. Will, you were on that team.
We won.
Went down there and kicked their ass for much of the game and then held on. But yeah, beat them in the Swamp. Heck of a game. Probably one of the most favorite games of all fans out there, that close win at the Swamp.
Yep. Really good game. And we always knew we got better, even though you say we played Kentucky in this team.
Well, yeah, I mean,
of course, now this team plays Kentucky and Vanderbilt in those same time frames, and they don't exactly do better. So.
A little different, though. I mean, Kentucky and Vandy today are a little different than the Kentucky and Vandy you guys had. I'm not trying to knock your team. Don't get your dance. Come on. But here's the thing: if you're not giving them much credit for beating Indiana State. That's all I'm saying. If you had played, do you think Tennessee would have had a better start to the season and worse end if the schedule had been Kentucky and Vandy and South Carolina the first three, and the end every year was Alabama, Florida, and Georgia? Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. Yeah. It's not a knock. I was bringing up that game just to kiss your ass, and you still find it as a negative. Willie Rain Cloud, man.
You're okay.
All right. Here's what was I going to add. I had one more question I was going to throw out. Oh, here, we may do this on the show at some point. But I was on Twitter this week, and I mentioned that it's just become, football is now just a war of attrition. NFL is even worse than college because there you got 50 players. But it's just a matter now of, all right, who'd we lose this week? Is it just me? Am I remembering this wrong? They had injuries when you guys played football. But I don't remember an injury list 15 guys long where you're carting 3 guys off every week and it's season-ending injuries. Seems like there are a lot more injuries today. My guess is that's because people are bigger, faster, stronger, and they're crashing into each other at faster speeds. Thoughts on that? Am I wrong? Injuries are the same, or do you think injuries are more common now?
My thought is just a change of the game, the sign of the times. I mean, back when we played, everybody was taught to be tough and tough as nails, and you played through everything. Hell, we played hurt, not injured, and we didn't want our coaches to know we were injured. Now, all the health aspect that's came to the game, they're paying more attention to people being hurt than calling them injured and not letting them play.
I could not remember one time when we had a guy that was run down the field, might be winded a little bit, and they'd run off the field, take me out, take me out. We never wanted to come out of games. We never did. Did y'all?
No. I think the worst thing we've ever done is the targeting rule. We went from, everybody's afraid of we're going to get a head injury. We don't want to target. Now we're going low. And we're hitting kids low, and we're getting injured down there. Number two, I think it's got a whole lot to do with the coaching. I mean, you go in the tunnel, and you stay in the tunnel, and you play in the tunnel, and you play with the top side of your shoulders, not this part. And I just think kids are getting hit in areas that they don't have cushion because they're out of the tunnel, they're standing straight up, and therefore we're getting injured.
I think we might have talked about this last year at some point, but I showed if you go back and look at guys from the 90s, early 2000s, just the shoulder pads, huge. Yeah. Now everybody wants these little tiny, because you look cooler, these tiny little shoulder pads. And I get people that are always like, that has nothing to do with it. Look, if you give me a bulletproof vest that's this big and ones that's this big and I get a choice, I'll take the ones that's this big. So yeah, it has to make a difference. Will, do you think there are more injuries today than there were?
I think there. It may seem like that, or it does seem like that. I don't know what that's coming from, to be honest. But I mean, I do think there's something to it with where you're hitting and how you're hitting. I think there's some unintended or third order effects of saying you have to be so careful and try where to hit people.
Right.
I think you're thinking too much, and I always learned it this way: that if you're thinking and pausing out in the field, it's being a little bit slow, being a little reactive, and you do get hurt a lot more times that way. You're just not going full throttle through it and being loose doing that. When you start thinking, you hesitate, stuff starts breaking down, and you get hit wrong.
I wonder how much of it also is weight room. Bobby, you guys weren't in the weight room like these guys today, in your day.
Weight room,
you guys,
what's that?
Yeah, see? Well, that was the old thing. You talk to anybody that played, and that's a different game, but this shows how it's changed.
Yeah.
Talk to anybody who ever played for General Nealon. He didn't want you doing all that weightlifting thing because you're just going to set your muscles up to be torn, to be sprained. it's changed since you guys were over there.
Yes.
Now you came in right when this weight room this war went on across the country, and everybody's got a bigger weight room. It's insane now, but I think that's part of it. I think if you've got guys who are bigger and stronger and faster, so that you've got bigger objects running into each other at harder speeds, I don't think it takes a physics professor to do the math on that one. That you're probably going to have a few more injuries.
It's amazing you say that, John P., because when we played, and I'm just speaking during our time, we were all taught technique, and weightlifting was to help preserve your body, not walk around like you just came from a Taibo class. You worked out to preserve your body, and if you got some appreciation or some swelling somewhere, that was good. You wanted to get strength and endurance, not to walk around looking ready for a poster. Now you got guys who have less technique, are bigger and stronger, and they're colliding into each other without the proper teaching that Shazana alluded to. In that fine area, that little zone that says injury is more prone to happen. Yeah. And if you're thinking out there on the football field, oh, baby, cancel Christmas.
That's why I was so good out there. Can't think.
On that note, we will end it. Will Overstreet, Shazan Bradley, Sterling Hinton, Bobby Scott. Thanks to all these guys. Thanks to our sponsors like Blue Smoke Cigar. We went to the single shot. There we go. And thanks to you for watching. I always appreciate it. We'll see you. Let's see. Will and I will talk to you on the radio Friday. Are you going to be there Friday? Is this the Friday you're off, or are you going to be there?
We'll see. I think so.
Big time. He may just go do something else. We'll know about 4 o'clock Friday whether he rolls in his Lamborghini or not, whether his driver drives him up there or not. But Friday, 4 o'clock on 990 and 99.1, we'll be joining Jimmy Himes and John Wilkerson for the Pigskin panel. Then next Saturday, Fox 43, 10:30 in the morning, we'll get you ready for the Florida game. We'll have a day of preview. And then, of course, Sunday, a week from now, we will be right back on WATE 6 to break down the Tennessee-Florida game. And remember, last year, when Tennessee snapped that streak against Florida, that was the show where we had 11 VFLs. We had 19 people on the show total. We had 11 VFLs that were out here. I called Sterling and said, who's in town? Get them over here. Travis Henry, Travis Stevens, Jason Allen. Fuad Reves, Jeff Hall, I think, came by. Yeah. We had a big time. So I will only say this. If Tennessee beats Florida this week in the Swamp, I don't know that I can come up with that since it's a road game, but I'll come up with something. We'll make it a special show on Sunday. And if they lose, that'll be a special show, too.
Well, we're going to win.
All right. We'll see you next Sunday at 11 on WATE 6. Thank you.